in Miami tonight. It's baseball tonight, and it's always a special night when Jose Fernandez is on the mound. The Marlins have him at home where he is dominant, and the Rockies are in town. Logan Morrison giving back to the community. Nice to see. The Marlins need to score some runs, and they need to do it in a hurry. They've lost 4 in a row and have scuffled at the plate. Legends of Wrestling night tonight. Oh, boy. We're in for a treat. Hi, everyone. Rich Waltz, along with Tommy Hutton. Jose Fernandez is pitching tonight. I don't care what kind of harebrained promotion you come up with. It pales in comparison to what this guy's done at home in this ballpark for this team.
And what he's done the entire year as a rookie, started at 20 years old. He's 21 now. Jose Fernandez pitching in this ballpark is 6-0, and his ERA is about 1.5. And you know what? He's going to have to do that because over this season, 62 games, the Marlins have scored 2 runs or less.
Now, the last time he saw the Rockies, he was outstanding. In fact, the last time he saw the Rockies was the last home run he gave up, and that was to Todd Helton.
They gave up that home run, and that was about it. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, just a couple of runs, had 8 strikeouts, and as he always has done, has been in the strike zone, just 2 walks in that game. So the innings are starting to pile up. He's at 145 plus right now. You figure 25 more innings for the season, and look at where Jose Fernandez ranks in the major leagues, not just amongst rookies, not just amongst the National League. He's up there with the big boys.
And since the 1st of June, he is second in ERA, only to Clayton Kershaw. Now, to continue our Coventry Healthcare matchup, Jeff Manship is getting a chance to start with the Rockies, and so far in his 3 starts, it's not gone well.
Yeah, he's a 28-year-old Rich. He's a journeyman. He's been around a little bit in the minor leagues. He's out of Notre Dame, and he's one of these guys who actually had Tommy John surgery his freshman year at Notre Dame. So we'll check the matchup out, but the guy you want to watch is Jose Fernandez.
And you got a great spot and a great seat for it tonight as the Marlins face the Rockies. We told you about that Todd Helton home run in his long career. Is it enough to get to Cooperstown? Jeff Conine, Craig Minervini will discuss. Marlins on a Saturday night with the kid on the mound. Let's go out to center field. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine.
Thank you very much, Rich, and good evening again, everybody. The Marlins will see Todd Helton here for the first time in the series. Did not start last night, did play against them in Colorado. It is a question that seems to follow him now as he hits the latter stages of his career. He just turned 40 years old the other day, August the 20th. Is he or is he not a Hall of Famer? It's not an easy question.
It's not an easy question, but you look what he's compiled over his career, some pretty impressive numbers. All that combined with a 954 career OPS. 954 career OPS, which is big. 3 Gold Gloves, this guy can do it all. I mean, as far as I can see it as a player playing against him, he was one of my favorites that I got to watch play because of his professionalism, the way he went about his business. Yeah. He was an absolute treat to watch.
You know, it's hard to deny a guy who had a 317 average because he happened to wind up in Colorado with the Rockies. The Coors Field effect would be the only reason that somebody might say something. How much does it hurt him?
Well, it might hurt him a little bit because of that.
Is it fair, Jeff?
It's not fair. I mean, you still got to hit the ball. You still got to get it done. But I think as the years go on, the writers are getting tougher and tougher on these stats that are getting into the Hall of Fame. And, you know, with 1,385 RBIs, they may not think that's enough. Or the 360 home runs, they might not think that's enough either.
Right, or maybe, you know, less than – he's going to be 2,500 hits now, and who knows how much longer he plays. Jose Fernandez faced these Rockies back in July. We talked with him about tonight's start.
I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. They got a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I did a really good job last time I faced him, so I want to make it a little better this time.
Yeah, they have some great hitters on this team. The record isn't great, but from an offensive standpoint, they're almost as good as anybody.
Yeah, they got a lot of good hitters, and they got a lot of experience, and they got a really good lineup. Gadara is keeping hitting the ball well, and Tulo, Ormo, and Cargill, incredible too. So they got some good hitters, and let's see.
Yeah, this Colorado Rockies lineup, even though they're not doing well in the standings, they still got a potent lineup, and that's what you really got to watch out for.
All right, it'll be interesting to watch. Jose Fernandez has pitched great all season long, home and away, but especially at home, his numbers are off the charts. The best ERA in baseball at home. Jose and the Rockies, next, Fox Sports Florida.
Yo siento temblor y ¿qué voy a hacer? Yo solo quiero amanecer. World full of love, what you gonna do? Wanna see the day, I'm telling you. Yo soy un hombre que pelea por la cosa que yo quiero ver. Va por todo lado, brindo trago. Game recognize, game, dame un abrazo. Con la culebra, el veneno no me hace nada. Bailo con la culebra, el veneno no me hace nada. Street, sometimes I got tall. Brainwashed like Mr. Roboto. Yo solo hablo, escribo y canto.
Jose Fernandez ready to deal, and here we go. Pinch and Penny's first pitch whistles in for a strike, and this ball game is underway. The Rockies, the Marlins, Jose Fernandez making start number 25. Dexter Fowler takes a changeup for a strike. Corey Dickerson, Troy Tulowitzki also scheduled up for the Rockies, who won last night's ball game 3-2. The Marlins haven't been scoring runs. Young pitchers having a tough time getting W's. But for Fernandez, he's been able to pitch his way through that. His last start, he pitched beautifully. He beat the Dodgers. 2 runs, 1 of them earned. Threw 109 pitches, Tommy, and that was his season high.
So far, and you always like to watch Jose early on the first inning to see how he establishes his pitches. So far, we've seen fastball, changeup. He just dropped a breaking ball there.
97 with a fastball, and down goes Fowler. Big arm, big personality. And he's facing a Rockies lineup that's got some good bats. J.M. Lexus brings it to you. Corey Dickerson now coming to the plate. Troy Tulowitzki, Michael Kadire, Todd Helton, Cargo. Carlos Gonzalez is on the disabled list. Willeen Rosario's been hot. Nolan Arenado's at third. DJ LeMahieu has hurt the fish this year. Jeff Manship landing in the 9 spot. And here is Dickerson. And he's laid on a fastball, fouls it off. Dickerson came in as a defensive replacement last night, got an at-bat, and struck out in the 9th. A better loss for the Marlins last night. They had a 1-0 lead and then a 2-1 lead. And then the bullpen gave up 2 runs in the 8th. Tom Kohler was lined up for the win. And it's been tough for some of the young pitchers. Without run support, you almost have to be, well, you almost have to be Jose Fernandez to overcome that.
Yeah, you've heard the term years ago, a pitcher will have an offense that's had trouble scoring, and they say, well, just go out and pitch a shutout, hit a home run, you'll be okay. Jose just might do that.
0-2 pitch coming. Breaking ball's fouled off.
Dickerson was not in that lineup in Denver when Jose pitched against the Rockies.
Rockies, skippered by Walt Weiss, come in 10 games under at 60-70. Actually improved from last year. They won just 64 games the entire season. And with a little over a month worth of games left, it certainly will have a better finish than they did last year. The Marlins, on the other hand, have just 48 wins. And Tommy, as you look at the schedule and look at the calendar, the Fish would like to finish better than they did last year. They won 69 games last year. Oh, 2 on a hop. Solano has it. Nice play. And there are 2 outs.
You know what, Rich? We always wait for that excellent defensive play just before we show you the defense tonight, brought to you by Cleveland Clinic. Yelich and Marisnick and Stanton at the outfield. You know Solano's at second. That was a nice play. Echeverria is double play partner. Lucas and Morrison at the corners. And Jeff Mathis behind the plate.
Now Tulowitzki. Tulowitzki, a couple of doubles last night. He's hit in 10 straight. And he hits it right back at Jose. Jose with a catch and a quick inning. Your cap to the hitter, and that's exactly what happened with Jose Fernandez and Troy Tulowitzki.
Tulowitzki looking at him saying, come on, what are you doing? And Jose say, you know what, you react sometimes, it finds the glove.
And it did. And so the Marlins go to work, and obviously to end this 4-game losing streak, the Fish need to start scoring some runs. Runs have been tough to come by, except that wild night against the Giants when the Marlins scored 10 and still lost the ball game. Manship is 28 out of San Antonio. And he misses away with a fastball. Christian Yelich, Donovan Solano, Giancarlo Stanton. Fourth start for Manship, who was signed as a free agent before spring training by the Rockies after spending his professional career in the Twins organization. Got to the big leagues in parts of 4 seasons. Catches the corner for a strike.
Christian Yelich trying to come out of a little flounder that he's in now.
And a liner to center will find Dexter Fowler. Good swing, though. And good contact for Yelich. Yelich leads it off tonight at left. J.M. Lexus brings you the rest of the lineup. Donovan Solano, Giancarlo Stanton, and Logan Morrison. Ed Lucas, a homer last night. Adeiny Echeverria is at short. Jake Marisnick at center. Jeff Mathis behind the plate. And Jose Fernandez hits 9th. Maybe this is the night that Jose Fernandez gets his first big league home run.
Well, he already has a strikeout, and he's made a great catch.
Solano, a couple hits last night. Rosario frames it outside corner. Strike to Solano. Andy Fletcher behind home plate. Rob Drake at first. Joe West at second. Sam Holbrook is out at third.
As you look at the velocity of Manship, you see upper 80s. That's pretty much what he's going to give. He has a little bit of a deceptive delivery, so as a hitter it might look a little harder.
Out to short. Tulowitzki gathers it up. Fires to first in time. Rockies are a pretty good defensive team, especially when they've got a Gold Glover out there at short. And it's brought to you tonight by the Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
Yeah, there's Corey Dickerson and Fowler and Kadire in that outfield. Nolan Arenado, we've seen him make some Gold Glove plays. Tulowitzki has 1 Gold Gloves. LeMahieu and Helton on the right side, and Willeen Rosario behind the plate.
Giancarlo Stanton. Sinker that misses down low. As Tommy noted, Mike Redmond at the tail end of his career was able to catch Jeff Manship. And Red's scouting report to us was he's a guy that has to be perfect. He's fine line. Got to be able to control the strike zone, change speeds.
Well, the year that Manship had some games with the Twins was 2009. That was Red's last year with Minnesota. Manship was in 11 games. He had 5 starts. We'll delve into the scouting report on Jeff Manship. A little deception, hesitation with that delivery. Yeah, he's out of Notre Dame, Golden Dome.
He had Tommy John surgery his freshman year at Notre Dame. He misses way outside. He was pitching in Colorado Springs most of the year. A 6-8 record, a 4.85 ERA. Logan Morrison is on deck. Colorado Springs is the Coors Field of the Pacific Coast League without the humidifier. I don't think they have the humidifier there. That one pulled foul.
Yeah, I think if you're a pitcher coming up in the Rockies organization, it might not have always been this way. Good call by the third base umpire, Sam Holbrook. But you were down there and you probably didn't look forward. Obviously, you wanted to get called up, but if you went up to Coors Field, ball really jump, but not the case now. More so at Colorado Springs.
Full count, Walt Weiss talking to his pitching coach, Jim Wright. Stanton is on his way down to first. The ball boy was about to pick the ball up as it rolled to the on-deck circle, and I don't know if it was Rosario or Andy Fletcher that yelled at him, "Don't pick that up. Don't touch it."
I think it might have been the home plate umpire, Andy Fletcher.
Yeah. So Morrison comes up. Manship obviously careful with Stanton. Morrison 0 for 3 last night. And he takes a ball. It's 1-0.
Just in the game last night, watching the way Manship worked to Stanton in this one, it looks like the Rockies have decided really not to give Giancarlo a whole lot to hit.
Morrison hits it hard. Helton catches everything, and he steps on the bag. And this game's underway and scoreless.
Español es presentado en SAP por Coventry Healthcare of Florida.
Smile, everybody. Jose's on the mound. Michael Kadyr's at the plate, and Fernandez misses outside. Todd Helton, Wilin Rosario in the second as the Rockies and the Marlins square off in Game 2 of a 3-game series. Fernandez trying to add to what has been a very impressive resume. And Tommy, we've talked, especially over the last couple of months, about Fernandez shot at 2013 National League Rookie of the Year. Probably 2 more starts after this.
I would, at most 3, but probably 2.
170 innings is the cap that the Marlins have put on him, and he was about 23 innings away from that right now.
So you figure this start, 2 more starts, you're looking at, if he averages 7 innings, 21 innings. So that would probably be it.
Little tapper up the line, and it's going to be a fair ball, and that's a base hit. Kadir gets an 80-foot single.
Kadire came into that at bat with a 7-game hitting streak. It's up to 8 games now with that little infield swinging bunt.
You can celebrate your child's birthday with a Marlins Sea Creature Birthday Bash. Enjoy the game from a private field level area. Plus, your child will be the honorary starter for the Great Sea Race. Birthday package is only $39 per person with inclusive food, autographs, and more. Book your party now at marlins.com/groups. Here is Helton. He blasted a home run against Fernandez in Denver. As we pointed out for Jose, that's the last home run he's given up. Jose's August has been extraordinary. He's 2-0 with a 1.04 ERA. His worst month in terms of ERA, April, 4.50. May, 3.18. And then after that, he ripped off a 1.67 June, a 2.06 July. And right now he's right around 1 in August.
It's just fun to break things down. His last 7 starts, he's given up 2 runs or less. And he's 4-0 during that time.
This is away and the count's 2-2. So to win the Rookie of the Year, if he can dazzle for the next 3 starts, including this one, he certainly has the numbers. But as you pointed out, the one thing that might work against him is the fact that he won't be pitching at the end of September. The hope is that these 3 starts go like, as you just pointed out, the last 7 starts. And his numbers at that point, as they are now, are comparable to a guy that's probably going to win the Cy Young, and that's Clayton Kershaw. On the ground, Kadire had to wait for it to clear in front of him, and it trickles into right field, a base hit for Helton.
That just shows you the kind of hitter Todd Helton is. A pretty good breaking ball. And he just got enough of it with Kadire at first base. There was a little hole open on the right side. Helton didn't hit the ball all that hard, but found that hole.
AT&T Twitter poll tonight. Do you agree with limiting pitchers' innings? Hashtag arm limit yes, hashtag arm limit no. Tommy Hutton, how would you vote in that one?
Well, I think it's all a personal thing. I don't think you can categorize every pitcher in the same boat. But in the case of Jose, because he's so young and he was in high school a couple of years ago, I understand it in his case. By the way, we're talking about Kershaw. Innings this season. Limit's going to be around 170. If you look at Jose last year, he threw 134 innings, but that was in low A and high A. So he was an A ball last year.
And of course, he's just two years removed from high school and a short season of A ball.
And all be said, 170 innings at this level on a 21-year-old is a little more stressful than 170 innings in Double-A.
I would concur, without a doubt.
But he's 3rd in the league in ERA. Only Kershaw and Matt Harvey are ahead of Jose Fernandez. 2nd
in opponent's batting average. Kershaw is 1st. That's why I say a lot of his numbers line up in the same category as Kershaw, and we saw how dominant he was. And many people feel that Kershaw is headed for a 2nd Cy Young Award.
Well, he's going to have to make some pitches here with the first 2 runners on base.
And with a hot hitter, Rosario at the plate. Rosario just had a 13-game hit streak snapped last night on an 0-for-4. And he had belted 5 home runs in those 13 games.
The American League leader, Rich, in earned run average at 2.45, Anibal Sanchez.
The 2-1. Swing and a miss.
If you think about the Tigers as they get to postseason, there's the American League ERA leader. He'd probably be third out of the chute for Jim Leyland because Max Scherzer just won his 19th game. He's 19-1. I don't care how Verlander's year is gone. He's going to pitch the second game, if not the first game. And then it would be Sanchez.
Two. Got him. Sharp breaker. And the first out of the second inning.
So many things have been impressive about Jose. And one of them is it's almost like when he needs to, in a situation with runners at first and second, nobody out, he needs to get a strikeout. He goes after a hitter, and he has different weapons to do it with. Could have been a high fastball. He decided to go off the plate with a breaking ball.
Nolan Arenado now. Arenado with a double last night. And the other thing in watching a full season of Jose Fernandez that has been impressive is when he gives up a run or two, he never seems to panic. There's never, I don't know if you can point to the moment. I guess the game in St. Pete was probably maybe the one exception. A moment where he gives up 2 or 3 runs and it all falls apart for him. What's happened this year is he'll give up a couple runs, even 3 runs, early in a ball game, and then all of a sudden, that's it. And next thing you know, it's 6th or 7th inning, and that's all he's given up.
And Rich, the greatest thing about seeing Jose all year is that I think we only saw him 1 inning in spring training. He pitched against Team Venezuela.
That's right.
He had a few starts on the backfields.
No, we saw him on the team plane on the way to.
Yeah, we said, hey, he must have made the club.
Washington. Well, a lot of things happened for him to make the team. There were the 2 shoulder injuries with Eovaldi and Alvarez. There was
Jacob Turner's poor spring.
The rough spring by Turner. You're right. Oh, 2 breaking ball in the air. Stanton lines it up. Tagging is Kadire, and he'll hustle his way to third base. Fernandez had to work a little bit here in the first 2 innings. He's at 30 pitches.
Yeah, that is interesting what you said. If all those things don't happen in the spring, Jose Fernandez starts the year in Double-A. That was the plan. And so we may be seeing him. If all had gone well, he would have been here, but he would only be making maybe his 4th or 5th start.
And that adds to the discussion about limiting innings, because say pitcher B, not Jose Fernandez, but any other pitcher in Double-A or Single-A or Triple-A for that matter, pitches a full season. That's a 5-month season.
So what this does, if all goes well, then he's ready for a nice 200-inning season next year.
Breaking ball for a strike. He seems to really have gone to the breaking ball here after giving up hits to Kadire and Helton. Neither were a thing of beauty. Kadire's was an 80-foot roller up the third baseline, and Helton dribbled a ground ball into right. The best ball the Rockies have hit was that line drive by Tulowitzki.
Well, he's got that bulldog mentality out there.
I think he's frustrated right now that his pitch count is so high. He's even talked about consciously trying to pitch to contact at times to keep that pitch count low. 0-2. Got him. Breaking ball. Fernandez pitches around the 2 hits to open the inning. He's got 3 strikeouts. And the Marlins and the Rockies searching for a run. Brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By AT&T Uverse TV. Check availability. 1-800-PICK-AT&T. Rethink possible. By Just for Men, mustache and beard. And by Checkers. Feast on. Jose Fernandez gave up a couple hits in the second, but then retired 3 in a row, 2 with strikeouts. And the Marlins will try to get to Jeff Manship with Ed Lucas, Adeiny Hechavarria, and Jake Marisnick.
Well, it's something you'd certainly like to see. You'd like to see the offense give Jose a little bit of an early lead so he can have something to work on and he doesn't go out there every inning in a tie game.
Lucas last night blasted one over the wall and left. A 400-foot shot. That was against Jhoulys Chacín. Chacín would end up getting the win. Swing and a miss in the odd twist of fate that 8th inning brought when Chad Qualls gave up 2 runs. It took a win away from Tom Koehler and handed a win to Chacín.
And Koehler was as good as he's been. He's had a couple of solid outings against the Rockies. One in Denver and last night. But unfortunately got a no decision last night.
You can see with Manship, he puts a little on, takes a little off, moves it in, moves it out.
Yeah, we've seen 88 and we saw a couple of 91s.
Lucas, foul ball.
Ed Lucas has been on a nice little run. You mentioned the home run last night, Rich. He's 5 for 10. His last 3 games, his hits in all 3 of those games.
That didn't miss by much, if it did miss. And the count's 3-2. In the air. LeMahieu calls for it, and the former LSU shortstop makes the catch. So an out here in the second, Adeiny Hechavarria.
Yeah, if you're a young player and you're drafted by the Rockies and you're a shortstop, you start working at third base and second base as you come up in the minor leagues. Troy Tulowitzki, 28 years old now, but he's still got a few good years left.
You know, the one thing about Tulowitzki, though, is Echeverria takes a strike. We've seen the groin injury last year and the surgery as well has cut down on his foot speed. Echeverria lines it to center. Fowler so good out there, and he runs it down. Copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Miami Marlins. May not be reproduced or retransmitted. Any form, accounts, and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. With a guy like Tulowitzki, sometimes, Tommy, if mobility becomes more and more a factor the older he gets, he might find himself at third base or at first base.
Yeah, I think I could tell where you were going with that. I mean, a lot of good shortstops have moved over to third. Cal Ripken Jr., a good example. But you're right. You don't have to move as much, cover as much ground at third base as you do at short.
Marisnick 1 for 4 last night. Tapper to third. Arenado across the diamond in time, and Jeff Manship has gone through 2 scoreless and hitless innings. At Marlins Park, 6-0, a 1.40 ERA. And a fastball rides in. A strike to Jeff Manship. Dexter Fowler, Corey Dickerson coming up. Line to right. Stanton picking it out of the lights. Makes the catch. We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, I'm with WWE Hall of Famers, well-known Coco Beware, Frankie. Greg, whoa! What's that? Brutus the Barber Beefcake. What? That's television hair right now.
Just making you look good, brother.
Well, Hammer, Greg Valentine, has Brutus Beefcake ever cut your hair over the years?
Yes, he did. When he turned against me, he whacked off a little bit back here, and I was really, really upset. That'll never happen again. So now we're friends again.
Your wife wasn't too happy either.
Oh, no. She drove right past me at the airport.
Legends of Wrestling, Coco Beware. Are you ready for this match after the game here tonight, right here at Marlins Park?
Man, I am ready, but I got to keep my eye on that beefcake, on that barber, because I got some pretty feathers, baby, and I don't want them cut off.
Look, the Bushwhacker will be here tonight.
Boy, mate, I'm waiting to get down on the pitch and do what I do best. Whack the ball out of the park. Whoa!
You're a baseball player, too.
Oh, mate, I'd pay anything, mate. Oh, I'm from down under. Whoa!
Watch out for this guy here. Bruce, who are you going against, and is there a victory in store, and is there going to be hair flying?
You know, it doesn't matter who I'm wrestling, but you know one thing? Somebody's going to get a haircut tonight, and it's going to be hair flying. There's going to be lots of strutting and cutting going down.
All right, the Legends of Wrestling will be here. Hold on to your hair. Back to you, Rich. Thank you.
Who's the guy in the back looking at the monitor to see if he's still missing a tooth?
And he is. I think it's one of the nasty boys.
Corey Dickerson.
Well, a couple of quick outs, and that's what Jose needs here.
Dickerson's 0 for 1. To center, Marisnik. And Fernandez, a 7-pitch inning. Nicely done. Scoreless game. Marlins are on social media, and there's several ways to connect with Marlin fans just like you. Go to marlins.com/connect. Full roster of Marlin players on Twitter, all the official Marlin accounts on Instagram, Twitter, and more. Share your Marlin memories all season long. Jeff Mathis faces Jeff Manship. Jose Fernandez and Christian Yelich also scheduled to appear in the bottom of the third. And Manship misses down low. Lots of baseball has already been played. Key games, well, Oakland beating Baltimore is big for Oakland, and for Baltimore, not so good. Mathis hooks one. Foul. The A's beat Baltimore by a score of 2-1. Detroit shut out the Mets. As Tommy pointed out, Max Scherzer was behind that. 3-0 Tigers. Can't believe Miggy didn't hit a home run.
A tough game. Only had 2 hits, 2 for 5.
Arizona's off to a quick start in Philly, 4-0. The Diamondbacks have fallen on hard times and have almost fallen out of serious wild card contention. In fact, they may be out of serious wild card contention. They're 7 back.
Boy, that happened fast, too.
65 and 62. Well, I mean, 7 games. That's still in contention.
And you know Kirk Gibson will still keep them thinking that.
Mathis fouls that one back. Cincinnati has fallen 3.5 back in the Central. The Pirates still the pace setters, but the Cardinals are right on their tails. Atlanta and St. Louis tonight tied 1-1 in the third.
Well, what a great game the Cardinals got last night. Complete game from Adam Wainwright.
He was dominant. Rosario does a nice job to get out and snare the breaking ball and get the strikeout of Jeff Mathis, and here comes Fernandez.
Now we talked about it, excuse me, Rich, with Kershaw in town about his numbers as far as Cy Young's concerned, but you know what? Wainwright's 15-7 now with that win and has an ERA at 2.58. It's not in the Kershaw area, but just having another great year.
All right, here's Fernandez, hoping to get him a fastball right down the middle. He shortens the bunt and takes outside. Guy that had a big impact on Fernandez had a big night last night at Dodger Stadium. Ricky Nolasco helped shut down the Boston Red Sox in front of 50,000. What a scene that must have been.
8 shutout innings for Ricky, gave up just a couple of hits. Well pitched game. John Lackey pitched an 8-inning complete game. He got the loss, gave up a 2-run homer to Hanley Ramirez.
Fernandez gets a fastball letter high, and it's 2-1. Marlins on the road trip, which starts Tuesday night, will be in Washington, D.C. Fernandez smiling at himself after being late on that fastball. His swings in the game are a lot more compact and quick than his swings in batting practice. Obviously, 88, 89 miles an hour here is a little different than the pitches he gets in BP.
Well, he started that rally against Ryu and the Dodgers. Had a base hit with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. And Christian Yelich doubled him home.
Well, the first time through now for Jeff Manship, he's not given up a hit. He has struck out 2 and walked 1. And the 28-year-old right-hander looks sharp right now against the Marlins.
You talked about Manship having attended Notre Dame, and he had a brother, or still has a brother, Matt, who pitched back in '03 at Stanford.
And he had a roommate in college that was big man on campus.
Yeah, he did.
He was an All-American wide receiver and pitched a little for the baseball team, Jeff Smargian.
And he's turned into a pretty good major league pitcher. We got a chance to see him maybe on this road trip.
Strike to Yelich. The best ball that the Marlins have hit tonight, probably Yelich's, to open the first. A liner into left center that Dexter Fowler corralled. This one will get in for a hit.
What a crazy game. He hit the first one a lot better. Got that one a little bit on the end of the bat, but he'll take it. The 2 good swings from Christian Yelich tonight. Concentration. Drops it into center field.
Strike.
This is where you'd love for Donovan Solano to somehow get on and at least get Stanton to the plate here in this inning.
Yelich away from first, and Solano pulls it foul. have been a long look at Joe Espada at third. Espada just happy to be upright after his collision last night.
A little sprain of his MCL. He's got a little brace on that knee after that collision with Chacin. As Joe was trying to get the runner around, Chacin was going over to back up third base. But he said he's okay. So I'm throwing his usual batting practice today, too. So he's fine.
No, he wasn't smiling when he threw it. It hurt. It hurt. You could tell watching him throw. Counts 0-2. Bottom third here. Jose Fernandez has thrown 40 pitches. Jeff Manship about to throw number 46. Yelich, a 2-out single. Running on the 1-2 in the dirt. Rosario's throw. Safe.
As you look at the future of Christian Yelich, there's so many things you can talk about with the way he swings the bat, the defense he gives you in left field. He had some years in the minor leagues. He stole 32 bases a couple of years ago in Greensboro. He had 20 last year in Jupiter. So he has the type of speed. We've seen him run the bases well. And a nice slide there to just elude the tag from LeMahieu. I think he could be the type of player that could give you 15+ steals a year.
Tulowitzki whips it across and gets the out, and Manship pitches around the single and the stolen base. 3 innings in, scoreless. Cleveland Clinic, fourth. Jose Fernandez has given up a couple hits. They actually were both in the second. In the first, this exchange from Troy Tulowitzki. Did you catch that? And so here they meet again, Tulowitzki and Fernandez, with Cuddyer and Helton coming up. Cuddyer and Helton had the singles in the second. Since then, Fernandez has set down 6 in a row.
one guy that Jose does not have to deal with tonight, Carlos Gonzalez. Cargo is still on the disabled list. He played in that series in Denver.
Fastball just missed up high. Cholula hot sauce spotlight player. Silicon Valley. All-State in Fremont. Derek Jeter was his hero. Went on to Long Beach State. And a three-time All-Star. He made his third All-Star team this year. Counts 1-2. Rockies have made sure that, in all likelihood, he'll be a Rocky for life. Tommy pointed out he's 28. He's actually signed through the year 2020. Full count.
Well, he's taking the count full. Jose Fernandez got ahead quickly, 0-2.
That's right down the middle. Tulowitzki knew it. 98 miles an hour. He was sitting breaking ball.
I guarantee it, because he's a good fastball hitter, but when you see a hitter take this, and you don't like to see hitters guess with 2 strikes, but he was thinking that big sweeping strikeout breaking ball that Jose likes to throw, and he just split the middle of the plate with a fastball.
Yep.
All right, give him that one.
A strike to Kadire.
And the kid's still pumping, 96-98.
With life.
Get him some runs.
At the knees. And just like that, it's 0-2. Tommy, if he has 3 spectacular starts, in my mind, he's got a shot at Rookie of the Year.
I absolutely agree with you. It's
not, and I'm not just saying, oh yeah, he deserves it. I'm just saying he's got a real shot at it.
He's got a shot, and as we talked about it when the Dodgers were here, if Yasiel Puig has a nice run.
Liner to left. Yelich over his head and off the wall. And Kadire got a hanger, and he punished it for a double. His second hit tonight, his third hit of the series.
You know, if Puig has a nice run, and certainly the Dodgers most likely are going to be in postseason, there's a hanger. Haven't seen too many of those from Jose Fernandez. Puig will certainly be in the mix too, and probably be the favorite.
Dodgers lost today to John Lester and the Red Sox. Puig had a couple hits. He's hitting .345.
Big 3-run homer by Johnny Gomes.
Now Helton. I guess, and there was a good discussion between Craig and Jeff Conine about Helton in the Hall of Fame.
Boy, it is a good discussion.
Can you find the one comparable guy that I would look for in this era? Paul Konerko. Doesn't have as many hits, but has more home runs.
It's a good debate, and he's the type of guy that someday you would like to see represent the Rockies in the Hall of Fame.
Now, Konerko didn't hit .317, but in terms of hits, He's about 250 behind.
And has played in a pretty good hitter's park.
Yes, he has.
And I think initially the first thing people look at with Helton is, well, he played half his games at Coors Field. And he has had better numbers at home than on the road. But a lot of guys have played in hitter-friendly ballparks.
2-1. And he pulls it foul. Those are the career splits. And you can see the enormous amount of home runs.
And there is a big difference.
Yes,
and that's
there is.
A lot of writers will look at that.
And to be honest with you, I haven't looked at Konerko's splits in Chicago and out of Chicago. From this era as well, Jim Thome, I think his numbers are enough to get him in terms of sheer home runs. Slow tapper. Solano underhands. You go Thome, I'll go Konerko.
Okay.
We can discuss.
Yeah, I'm actually curious on those splits of Paul Konerko, who's been the same type of player too, and citizen to his ball club, representing the White Sox over the years.
281 career average, 492 slugging percentage, 431 homers, 1,378 RBIs, 400 doubles, and 2,268 hits.
I think Jim Thome becomes a no-brainer when you throw out 612 home runs.
Okay, well, that's what I meant about
yeah,
the
yeah.
Konerko home run splits. At home, 255. On the road, 176.
So there's quite a differential there for him, too.
RBIs are not that dramatic, 736 to 642. Batting average 292 home, 270 road. He has more doubles on the road than at home.
You know, the one thing I think that, whether you agree with them or not, writers have so much more to look at when they vote nowadays with all the stuff on the internet, the different areas you can delve into. There's a lot more they can check in on if they do their work.
One and two, runner at third. There's that breaking ball that I think Tulowitzki was thinking about, and instead got the fastball. 60 pitches in a scoreless game. Jose Fernandez making his 25th start.
And the final thing, you have the intangible with Todd Helton, what he's meant to the Rockies organization over the years.
No swing.
That's a pretty good take by Rosario, because 9 out of 10 hitters are going to chase that with 2 strikes.
Nolan Arenado is on deck. Three-two coming. That would be strike 3 call. That time Rosario was thinking fastball, and he got the breaking ball. And a good one. Honda. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. By Coventry Healthcare of Florida, lighting the way to better health. And by Hialeah Park Casino, a world of entertainment. Come and live it, now open. In Miami tonight, the kid's throwing. And Jeff Manship has matched him inning for inning. In fact, the Marlins have just one hit against this 28-year-old. And I guess you would call him a journeyman somewhat. Parts of 4 years with the Twins.
A lot of games in the minor leagues. 51 and 42 is career record in the minors.
Career record in the big leagues of 3-5, 6.44 ERA. Stanton gets a hold of one, lasers it to left, and Dickerson can't come up with it. Stanton around first, hustles into second with a double. First of all, it's amazing that the ball got out to Dickerson because it was hit so hard, and off the bat it looks like it's a line drive over the shortstop's head, and it ends up at the feet of the left fielder.
A lot of times we talk about how a hitter can handcuff an infielder with a line drive or a short hop. Stanton has the kind of power he can handcuff outfielders. And that one fooled the left fielder, Corey Dickerson. And good job by Stanton. Once he saw that ball get away from him, he got out of the box quickly and ended up at second base with a double.
Now Morrison, the Marlins have a runner in scoring position to lead off the inning. Morrison pulls one right side. Helton flips. Manship there. Nice job by Morrison. Scoreless ball game here. Let's go to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. All right, thanks. Max Scherzer now 19-1. Matt Harvey now 9-5. Giancarlo Stanton at third, infield in, and Lucas up.
That's interesting. Harvey at 9-5. Jose Fernandez coming into this game tonight 9-5. First game, Rich, against the Dodgers, the Marlins were 4 for 6 with runners in scoring position. In the 4 games since, they've gone 2 for 27.
Yeah, 4-game losing streak and just 7 runs in those 4 games. Manship trying to tie up Ed Lucas. Lucas trying to pick up Logan Morrison. Morrison gave up his at-bat. By pulling a ground ball to move Stanton to third. And Lucas pulls one down the third base line. Stanton will score. Lucas will hold with a single. And Miami's on the board.
Tell you what, a good part of that made by Logan Morrison as well. To get Stanton over to third, believe me, when you're a hitter and the runner's at third, you just have a much better feeling. And with the third baseman, Arenado, even with the bag playing in a little bit, he's able to get that ball by him. It might not be the case if there's no one at third. So good job by Ed Lucas.
Danny Echeverria now. Echeverria lined out to center his first time up.
See if you see hit and run first pitch.
Well, that's certainly what Manship was thinking. Echeverria jumps on that one, deep left center. Fowler won't get it. It goes to the wall. Lucas around third. He's coming home. Echeverria has a triple. 2-0.
Forget the hit and run. Just go for the 3-base hit and an RBI. 7 triples now on the year for Adeiny Echeverria. Little slider stayed middle of the plate. Echeverria had a nice swing. That's 2 balls he's hit hard tonight. Hit a line drive to center field first time up.
This was the spot in the ball game that Manship struggled with his last start at Philly. Marisnick to right, and that should be deep enough. It will be deep enough. Echeverria scores. Marisnick delivers. The Marlins have some big hits, but they also have made a couple of productive outs on their way to 3 runs in the inning.
You know what? That's how you build a nice inning, and they've done that. The ground ball by Lomo, the sac fly there by Jake Marisnick. So good job in this inning by everybody.
Here's Mathis.
Well, Adeiny Echeverria continues to lead all rookies in triples, just adding to his total. 7 now.
He's not that far from the National League leader, Starling Marte, with 10. Gene Segura, Denard Span, and Carlos Gomez all with 9. And Echeverria even now with Will Venable at 7. These 2 teams play in 2 of the very best triples ballparks.
Without question. Boy, and all of a sudden, pitch count soaring for Jeff Manship.
That's strike 3 called. Manship strikes out Mathis. Marlins strike for 3. Back after this sports injury prevention message from the Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Well, a scoreless game just became a 3-0 game, and the Marlins have given Jose Fernandez a 3-0 lead. Time now for the Just for Men Mustache and Beard Play Like a Champ profile. We're talking about Wilin Rosario, Rockies catchers and home runs. Remember, CJ had a nice year there in 03. Well, Rosario last year hit 28. He's 8 shy of that. And a fastball to Nolan Arenado is inside, and it's 1-0. So Fernandez has been sharp. The Marlins have him runs. All is well in the world for the Marlins. A 4-game losing streak and just 7 runs in those 4 games. And here tonight, 3 runs in the 4th inning.
You know, the pattern for Jose Fernandez tonight has been kind of low pitch inning. Then he's had a high pitch, then a low pitch, a high pitch. This is a low pitch inning time for him. And he has the bottom third of the order, so he has a chance to do that.
Arenado flied out back in the 2nd. Five strikeouts for Jose. He's not walked a hitter, and he's given up just the 3 hits.
Always keeping a close eye is Chuck Hernandez. I think it's really been a good fit for Jose to have someone like Chuck as his pitching coach in his first year.
Well, especially a guy that saw him pitch in high
Yes.
school. Recruited him, actually, when Chuck was working for the University of South Florida. Well, not really recruited him. Was going to go recruit him until he saw him throw. And then called up the head coach and said, hey, this kid's not going to college. And he wasn't, because Miami took him with the 14th overall pick. FP&L scores from around the league. You saw the highlight from Detroit. The Tigers shutting out the Mets. Arizona off to a quick start. They need a win in Philly tonight. Dodgers finally lost. Boston got them 4-2. Milwaukee leading Cincinnati. St. Louis 2-1 over Atlanta, bottom 4.
Good pitching matchup going on in the American League over in St. Pete. The Yankees and the Rays. David Price against CC Sabathia. No score in the 4th.
DJ LeMahieu touched upon LeMahieu on Marlins Live. Smacks it up the middle. Echeverria gains his balance and gets the out. Morrison just keeping the foot on the bag. And there are 2 outs.
You know, all the things we were talking about as you watch Etch kind of pick this tough little hop there at the end. And then Lomo stays with it. It's the first base umpire, Rob Drake, right on the call. But all the things we were talking about when you start considering Hall of Famers, but also when you start considering Rookie of the Year. Things that Jose has done. 4th youngest since 1900 with consecutive 13 or more strikeout games. Throw that one in the mix. First rookie with 4 10 or more strikeout games since Hamels in 06.
First rookie to force Rich and Tommy to eat Cuban sandwiches when he starts.
Yeah, but I don't think they force this.
He's just trying to help the resume, Tommy. 1-2 to Jeff Manship. Oh, that's nasty. Snaps off a sharp breaking ball, picks up the strikeout, and works a 1-2-3-5. And Miami halfway through has a 3-0 lead.
Park Casino. Abierto ahora.
Well, that sounded like Raul, but actually it's Joe tonight, along with Cookie. Joe and Cookie. Hi, guys.
Hey, Tommy.
How you guys
How
doing?
you doing? Richie, how are you?
Hey, we're doing good and a little better after the 3-run inning to give Jose a little cushion.
Absolutely. We got 3 hits in that inning, too, so it was a long time coming, Tommy.
Well, the Marlins up 3-0. Cookie, we were thinking maybe tonight was the night Jose got his first Major League home run.
He's trying everything he can to do that. And even in batting practice, he have those bets with the rest of his staff and friends trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He said he'd be the happiest man on the earth when he hits the first one.
How about if he hits it, you guys can make the call? Oh, he's going to
That'll
drop down.
be great.
Oh, look at this here.
Out.
Ooh, look at him. Look at him, huh? Does he get excited or not?
You have to appreciate the emotion, huh?
Absolutely. No question about it.
Bang, bang play, but this guy Arenado's a terrific fielder at third base, and
Yes, sir.
I think he gets him by a half a step, but boy, is it close.
No question about it. He thought he had it, but great play by the third baseman. You know, it's good to see that kind of emotion in Fernandez, and I think that we miss a lot a guy like Ozuna in the ball club. When he came up, it was exciting, you know, the way he ran the bases, the way he hit all over the place and take the extra base. And I think Jose is the same way. Every time he goes to the mound, he's excited to see him the way he conducts himself on the field.
Well, that's a good point, Cookie, with Marcell Ozuna. Absolutely right.
We need his offense, and I hope that next year he'll be healthy and ready to go. I think that we'll have a very good player there for many years to come in Ozuna.
Hey, how did you guys like that exchange between Tulowitzki and Fernandez in the first inning?
That was great. You know, a couple guys, Tulowitzki, we read his lips. He said, "Did you catch that?"
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Great defensive play there by a pitcher, and that's what happens, Tommy, when you finish your throw to home plate, that you end up looking at the catcher and square to the catcher. Otherwise, if it would have fallen down to first base side, I think that ball would have hit him pretty hard.
Solano's on deck, 3-0. Miami on top. Here's the 3-1 to Yelich. And he pulls a ground ball. Helton has it. A little sidearm flip. Just like when he was a quarterback at Tennessee. All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Have a good night.
You too,
All right,
guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, keep the lead.
Tommy,
keep the lead.
are you wrestling tonight, Tommy?
No, I'm not wrestling tonight. But
fast, huh?
hey, keep
Okay.
the 3-run lead. Would you?
You got it.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
We've had a lot of activity, Rich, the last inning and a half.
We just had a large group, and this is the largest group we've ever had visit the booth from Key West.
Yeah, they're having a good time up in Key West. It's good to see them.
Solano takes outside. Donovan Solano has bounced to short twice. Now his teammates are going to hear about this drag bunt for the next 2 innings.
They're going to say, I thought you were trying to hit a home run.
Counts 2-1. Jacob Turner, Jorge De La Rosa. That's tomorrow, 12:30 Marlins Live, 1 o'clock ball game. Solano muscles up, hits one to straightaway center. Fowler runs it down and makes the catch. 1-2-3, go the fish. In the 5th, on to the 6th, 3-0 Miami. In the fourth, standing up right now for the Fish. Jose Fernandez goes to work in the sixth. Top of the order for Colorado. Dexter Fowler pops one foul and out of play. Corey Dickerson, Troy Tulowitzki will follow on a Saturday night in Miami. Who knows? It may be the last home start for Jose Fernandez.
I sure hope he gets one more, but you're right. It might be. If you look at the schedule right now, Monday's a travel day on to Washington. And so Jose would be given, as all the pitchers, an extra day. So that would put him on target to throw the first game against the Braves Friday. He hasn't faced the Braves this year.
Down goes Fowler.
Then his next start, if you looked at the regular rotation, no off days, if you pitched Friday in Atlanta, would be Wednesday in Chicago. But you know what? If the ball club wanted to give him an extra day or two because the next day is an off day before the club opens up at home, they could do that. Have the off day Friday night against the Nationals. Why not? The only thing, though, Rich, we don't make those decisions. They don't come to us.
Well, for us, we don't even get to pick out our own ties. It's essentially you Slappy stand there and talk when the light goes on.
We didn't have to worry about the guys from Key West stealing any ties.
No, a big group.
They're
from
casual.
Key
They're
West.
casual down there.
And they're having a good time tonight. Seven strikeouts for Fernandez. Two and two. Solano gathers it in. And Jose Fernandez is dealing in Miami tonight. Let's go to Los Angeles for this Fox Sports 1 game break. Thank you, Julie. We're in Miami tonight. Jose Fernandez gets a pop-up from Troy Tulowitzki, and it's out of play. The Braves lead in the East, even though they're trailing St. Louis 2-1. The Braves lead in the East is at 13 games, and that's as close as it's been for a while. And to get there, the Nationals have won 4 in a row. So maybe this is the run that everyone's been waiting for the Nationals. And they're pounding Kansas City tonight, 7-1.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're putting a lot of things together. They had a wild game last night, winning in Kansas City 11-10. Yeah, Jason Worth Ian Desmond, big night. Desmond Rich with a home run tonight for the Nationals.
It's the power of Sarasota, Tommy.
Harper's starting to get hot. A couple of base hits.
Well, I mean, we were talking about Arizona trying to hang in the wild card. With the 4 wins in a row by Washington, they come into play 8.5 back in the wild card. So they need some help tonight. Tulowitzki, after that swing, has taken a long walk, almost like he pulled something. And that's not good news for the Rockies.
He had that 98-mile-an-hour swing on what looked like a 90-mile-an-hour changeup. Now, remember what he saw last time? He took that fastball right down the middle. Not this time.
Wow. Boy, how many hitters tonight have flinched at that breaking ball that turns out to be right over the heart of the plate? 8 strikeouts for the kid. Night, the wrestlers. Oh, that's not nice.
Yeah, the Octopus didn't have a chance either.
Here's Giancarlo Stanton. And he takes low and inside. Into center, and Fowler makes the catch. Stanton's double started the 3-run 4th. Manship gets him here in the 6th. This is the Coors Light Crossroad Freeze Cam. And that was the one where Tulowitzki. You catch that? Yeah, that's the freeze cam, says Jose. Morrison has bounced out twice, although his last ground out was an important one. It moved Giancarlo from 2nd to 3rd and set up Ed Lucas's RBI single.
By the way, on that line drive, it's great that we saw the reaction of Tulowitzki, because I think some would construe that maybe of Jose, because he was smiling, The kid showing somebody, but he wasn't. He was just responding to Tulowitzki. That's why that was such a great interaction between those two guys.
Morrison takes away. Outside of that fourth inning, Manship has pitched well. And a breaking ball strikes out Morrison. So there are 2 outs here in the 6th. You can pick up a Pepsi 4 for $50 4-pack tomorrow. As the Marlins and the Rockies finish the series, finish the long homestand, kids get an Adeiny Echeverria 3/4 baseball jersey, courtesy of Chevrolet. You get to run the bases after the game in the Diamond Dash. Go to Marlins.com for tickets. Lucas now. Ball on a strike. Lucas a home run last night. An RBI hit here. Tries to spin on one.
Ed with base hits now in 4 consecutive games. Closing in on 250 at-bats. I'm sure he did not think about that when he started this year in the minor leagues.
But he dreamed about that when he signed his contract of being drafted by the Royals out of Dartmouth. I was talking to Mike Redmond about Lucas today, and Redmond was saying, for Lucas, he's proved he can play at the big league level, and he's proved that he can be a real valuable player in the National League. He can play all 4 infield spots and play them well. He can play in the outfield, and he can also serve as an emergency catcher.
I got a feeling next spring we'll see Ed Lucas all over the place.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see him behind the plate.
Yeah.
Just to, I mean, maybe for Mike Redmond's peace of mind, see what kind of an emergency catcher he is. Jose Fernandez at 88 pitches with a 3-0 lead. I guess it's a win-lose spot for Mike Redmond. The further he lets him go in games that he's starting here, the sooner his season will be up.
Yeah, sooner he'll have to shut him down.
But the good news is he's going deep in games. Our producer, John Sulzer, during the break, lobbed out the thought, and it's a real valid one. It would be nice to see Jose get a chance to finish a game before the season's out. Just for, I mean, he's begged, cajoled, and tried to trick his way into getting out there in the 9th. And Mike Redmond has yet to let him go that deep. It probably won't happen tonight. I mean, he's at 89 pitches. He's thrown 6 innings. 109 is his season high. But in those next 2 starts, 3 if things break right, wouldn't it be nice if the kid could go the distance and not throw 120, 130 pitches, but do it in 100?
Hey, many times you see it all the time. A complete game's thrown right at 100 pitches, 105 pitches. And the way he can go out there sometimes and have innings where he gets some quick outs, certainly doable. probably not going to happen tonight. 88 pitches through 6 innings.
Helton snares it. We were talking about Helton and comparing him to Jim Thome and Paul Konerko. The one area where Helton has an advantage over those two is defensively.
Well, Helton, as we've talked about, is a Gold Glover. Todd Helton
3 times
in his career. 5 All-Star games, 4 Silver Sluggers, a batting title.
Etch with a soft fly ball to center. Fowler is there, and he makes the catch. 3-0 Miami. Zeros up there for the Rockies. Jose Fernandez at his best tonight. Into the 7th he goes. Cold Hard Fact brought to you by Frostbrewed Coors Light. Appropriate, certainly, with the Rockies in town. Drafted as a shortstop. He's played every position except catcher and shortstop. Michael Cuddyer, we talked about him last night. Kind of the trendsetter, the first to really come out of that Virginia area. The long line of good infielders, good players. Cuddyer kind of the godfather to the David Wrights and the Zimmermans and the Reynolds and the Uptons and all that. Two hits tonight for Cuddyer. And that one off his foot. It's a foul ball. It's 1-2.
It's one of the reasons David Wright selected Michael Cuddyer to be a part of the home run derby.
Eight strikeouts for the 21-year-old tonight. Stanton is over, and he's there, and he makes the catch. Tommy, he's done nothing but improve on all the superlatives that we talked coming in. Last 7 starts, 4-0, 1.53 ERA. Since June 1st, 7-2, a 1.64. That's second best in all of baseball.
Keep them coming, Rich. Keep them coming.
Just 2 points behind Clayton Kershaw's 1.62 ERA.
Well, and his ERA has lowered to 2.31.
Helton into right field. So Todd Helton has 2 hits tonight. Willian Rosario and then Nolan Arenado if things progress for the Rockies. Look at that. The 21-year-old tipping his cap to Helton.
Well, he knows about the game, and the biggest phrase you hear in describing Jose is that he gets it. He understands a guy like Todd Helton, 40 years old, what he's meant to his franchise and what he's meant to this game.
Arenado takes in. Or excuse me, Rosario takes in. Arenado's on deck. Wilin Rosario has struck out twice. So he's looking for solid contact.
And you never know. This could be all things kind of point in the direction that it could be Helton's last year. And if it is, he can, if he gets no more at-bats off Jose Fernandez, he can say he went 3 for 6 off the kid and 1 home run.
Stan sets up underneath it. 2 outs here in the 7th.
There's a nice article about Helton. He's not the type that wants to take the farewell tour and all that stuff. He just kind of wants to head off into the sunset. He hasn't made any declaration of retiring, but all things kind of lead to the fact that he might.
Well, what an interesting twist his career took at Tennessee when Peyton Manning stepped on campus. And just think if Manning had committed to Georgia or Ole Miss. Of course, Helton might be in Denver with the Broncos at this point. 9-pitch inning, 3-0 Miami. Tonight, he's through 7. Next watch party coming up on Tuesday the 27th. Duffy Sports Grill at the Intercoastal Mall in North Miami Beach. Marlins and Nationals at 7:05. Prizes and tickets to upcoming games. Billy and the Energy Team, and great food and drink specials at Duffy's. Go to Marlins.com for more information. Rob Scahill into the ball game for the Rockies.
Well, it's all said and done. I'm sure that Walt Weiss feels pretty good about the 6 innings he got from Jeff Manship. Just the one bad inning. So Scahill comes on to try to keep that way.
Jake Marisnick. Jeff Mathis. Jose Fernandez's spot is due up third. Scahill out of Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. And the 26-year-old's fastball is up. Jose doesn't look like he's going to get to hit this inning, because normally he's already suited up with the helmet and the bat.
Well, he'd have everything going.
Even if he was up third. Marisnick flips one back behind the screen. 8th round pick out of 2009 is Robert Joseph Scahill. Got to the big leagues last year. 6 games out of the bullpen. TJ LeMahieu now at third base. Scahill bounces that one to the screen. So Herrera now in the 9th spot. For the Rockies, at least you would expect.
Yeah, LeMahieu moves over because Arenado made the last out, so that's the move you would expect.
So the pitcher in the 7th spot for the Rockies. Greg Dobbs getting loose for his cameo appearance. Dauber had a big at bat last night and a big RBI, even though Miami lost the ball game.
Dobbs' sacrifice fly put the Marlins ahead 2-1.
Fastball up. And Marisnick walks to lead off the 7th. The Sports and Highlight Show you've been waiting for. Fox Sports Live. Jay Onrait, Dan O'Toole, joined by Donovan McNabb, Gary Payton, and one of my favorites, Andy Roddick. Carissa Thompson there as well. Everything you need to know about the world of sports. Fox Sports Live, nightly on Fox Sports 1.
How's the transition been, Rich, for Andy Roddick?
Actually, he made the transition near the end of his tennis career. He co-hosted a nationally syndicated radio show that talked about all the different sports. Roddick very much up on all of the sports. Marisnick runs, swing and a miss. Rosario's throw, safe. Herrera thought he had him. Marisnick gets in, and the more you see Marisnick, you realize he can really run.
Now the difference in the two, we were talking about Christian Yelich a couple of innings ago. Marisnick has the ability to steal more bases. Good jump. He really gets, for a guy 6'4", he gets some nice acceleration.
I think his hand went right on the shoe.
Yeah, he was out. He never got to the bag.
But the umpire in this case, Joe West, Walt Weiss came out to argue. From Joe West's perspective, he sees the hand get in there and he sees the glove go down at the back of the bag. Probably tough to discern. See where Joe is? He's on the inside, and as he turns to make the call,
I don't know. I think from his angle, he can see the hand on the foot. Bang, bang, either way. And a good job by Marisnick.
Marlins get a break. Mathis now with a count 0-2. Scahill just missed the inside corner.
Looked like a backup slider from Scahill.
Had a chance to visit with Mark Wiley before the ball game. Wiley, the organizational leader of pitching. I know he has probably a fancier title than that, but that's kind of what he is. He's their go-to guy. The Rockies instituting a set of standards and practices throughout their minor league organization, trying to develop top flight pitching. Director, pitching operations. I like the one I gave him.
Yeah, I knew where you were going with that, and I think Wiles would appreciate that too.
I think my title was fancier. That doesn't feel good for Rosario.
Well, as far as the Rockies organization, that's what it's always been about, is trying to develop pitchers, be they from the organization, trying to trade for pitchers, trying to sign free agent pitchers.
In a snapshot, some of the things they've put into place, they're big on pounding the strike zone low, so every ball club in the organization has a set of strings that they set from the kneecaps down to the middle of the shins. They want pitchers in bullpen sessions pounding it there. Here's the 2-2. Another foul tip. They keep a separate chart during the course of a game from just the normal pitch variety and speed to early strikes, ground ball outs. All of that is rewarded at every level, from rookie ball to the major leagues.
Well, that's one of the keys, is to stay consistent throughout all the minor league affiliates.
And as Wiley said, those are actually practices that aren't revolutionary. It's things that other organizations have preached and tried in the past.
Well, the old strings years ago used to be used by the Dodgers. They'd have those set up in the bullpen areas.
The idea is to get as many ground balls as possible, to get as many strikes as possible, keep the pitch count down, especially at Coors Field, keep the ball on the ground. Mathis, after a protracted battle, strikes out. Here is Dobbs, and last night at AT&T U-verse Rewind, Craig Dobbs in a key moment, tie game, runner at third, need to drive him in. Good pitch, good swing. That's what Dobbs said in describing his at-bat. Get a good pitch and put a good swing on it. That's all you can control.
Yeah, when he was talking to us around the batting cage, he talked about how early in the count everything was hard away, and he wasn't sure he was going to get a pitch that he could drive into the outfield, and finally got that slider in a good hittable zone. Just in case someone's at home and wondering what we're talking about when we say strings, they have strings stretched across in front of home plate. It almost looks like fox tracks, actually. And then the pitcher tries to throw the ball in that little square diagonal in the strike zone, keep it low, and throw it in the middle or on the corners of those strings.
And each team in the organization, including the Major League team, has a pair of mobile strings that travels with teams for road games, as well as the ones that are set up in the home park bullpens. Scahill at 97 miles an hour.
Start putting the clock on Scahill the way we did with the pitcher in Kansas City.
Dobbs to center field. Fowler makes the catch. Resnick races to third. 3-0 Marlins here. Let's go to Los Angeles for this Fox Sports 1 game break. Thank you, Julie. Prado with a homer and a double, and is driven in 2 in that ball game. And as we noted, the Diamondbacks have scuffled lately. A 7-3 lead now over the Phillies. Arizona trying to stay in the West, stay in the wild card. The Reds, and we were talking about the Reds as the team that both Arizona and, for that matter, Washington have set their sights on. Washington is still clobbering Kansas City 7-1. The Reds have just taken a 4-2 lead in Milwaukee in the bottom of the 6th. Chris Heisey, Ryan Ludwig, and Zach Kozar have all homered. Yelich with a runner at third takes away.
For the Reds, you know, who always gets kind of hyped up this time of year is Todd Frazier, because of his Little League exploits from Toms River, winning the Little League World Series.
We got to check and see who won that game between California and Connecticut, because the final is tomorrow.
Who won the international?
I believe Japan.
Japan did.
California a winner, and they will play Japan in the championship.
Well, Connecticut had a wild game against the team from Washington.
Sammamish, my former hometown. Chula Vista is the town from California. There's a lot of major league talent from Chula Vista.
Jake will be rooting for that team.
Just saw Adrian Gonzalez.
I think that's always kind of neat when the major leaguers who are from that area or close to it or that town will send messages or give the team a call.
Send them gift cards. Maybe pay for the spread. Actually, I think the kids in Williamsport are well taken care of.
They're taken care of.
That's a pretty sweet deal.
A lot of volunteers. Tremendous amount of volunteers.
Scahill misses away. Yelich has walked. And here comes Solano.
That's amazing how a game can move along, starting pitchers, and then a relief pitcher can come in and the brakes just come on the game. This guy's taking forever to throw. His control isn't there. He's walked a couple.
I think the pitcher that was ponderous.
Yeah, I said Kansas City. It might have been Atlanta.
Which drove you nuts was in Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought Kansas City. Not sure. Was it Luis Avila? Don't know. I tried to forget.
Solano takes out. Well, Scahill has faced 4 hitters. This is the 5th hitter. And he's already thrown 30 pitches. And you were right. I think Walt Weiss probably pretty happy with what he got out of Jeff Manship tonight. Manship 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. If you're just happening by, this is a Jose Fernandez start, and he did not disappoint. Fernandez 7 innings, 4 hits, didn't give up a run, didn't walk anyone, and struck out 8. His ERA is down to 2.30. Solano fouls it back.
Well, again, just to continue to add to that Rookie of the Year resume. A lot of competition. It's not going to be easy.
He's just 0.3 behind Matt Harvey, whose ERA is now at 2.27 after his start against the Tigers today.
Who is not a rookie. I think some people think Harvey was a rookie, but he is not a rookie. He threw enough innings last year to take him out of that race.
Two and two to Solano.
But you have Ryu, Shelby Miller, Julio Teheran. They're up there in wins. But Jose's got him in strikeouts. Opponent's batting average.
ERA. Solano strikes out and thus ends a 34-pitch inning in which a run was not scored. That's not easy to do.
Well, we're going to show you a little Jose Fernandez, who once again lit it up. 4 hits, no runs in 7 innings, had 8 strikeouts. How about Ed Lucas with a base hit? Stanton got it started with a double. Lucas drives him in. Adeiny Echeverria gets himself his 7th triple of the year. Lucas scores a sac fly by Jake Marisnick. And just like that, the Marlins put a 3 spot on the scoreboard in the 4th inning. And A.J. Ramos comes on to work. Jose Fernandez lowered his ERA. You pointed it out, Rich, to 2.30. No walks, 8 strikeouts. So 165 strikeouts now for Jose Fernandez.
Here's the amazing thing. He's thrown, here's one of the amazing things I should qualify that with. He's thrown 152 and 2/3 innings. He's given up only 102 hits. LeMahieu, Jonathan Herrera, Dexter Fowler. Ramos misses up. Now, the Marlins bullpen has not been the best of operations of late. Fish certainly had their issues last night. Chad Quall's given up a couple runs in the 8th.
A guy who hasn't had a whole lot of work lately has been Steve Cishek. It's been getting leads and then getting it to Cishek that's been the problem.
LeMahieu out to center.
But a good start as Cishek looks on.
So he starts his mental activity. And a little stretching as well. Herrera's first at bat. Versatile infielder, and he's behind the count 0-2.
When Ramos has had his struggles, and you can usually pick it up right off, he struggles throwing strikes. The stuff's always there. And boy, there's just a good changeup to put Herrera away quickly. But no struggles with control the first 2 hitters.
If Ramos can get Dexter Fowler, that would mean Cishek or whoever would get the 9th. If the Marlins score 6 or 7 runs and put it away, it might not be Cishek. It would mean Cishek would get the number 2, 3, 4 hitters, Dickerson, Tulowitzki, Kadire, with Helton looming. That Cardinal lead is holding up at home against Atlanta, 2-1 in the bottom of the 7th. The Pirates are trailing the Giants out in San Francisco 1-0. That game's still in the bottom of the 1st. Morrison is there. Little flip. Ramos to first. And a 1-2-3. 8th. Nice job by A.J. Ramos. 3-0. Fish. Kid was super tonight. 7 scoreless, 8 punch-outs, and now he just waits and watches. MLB.TV is celebrating 11 years. Millions of fans have subscribed, and you can as well. And when you do, you can watch every out-of-market game live online on your favorite mobile and connected device in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV today. And we certainly appreciate those of you around the globe, wherever you might be in the United States or across the pond in Asia, Australia. We get notes from just about every corner of the earth who watch the games on MLB.TV. Besides, Tommy is big in Sweden. Did you know that? There's a large contingent of Swedish fans that have taken a liking to you. Maybe it's your blonde hair and blue eyes.
Or could have been my nephew who's playing soccer over there.
That's right. I forgot about that. Giancarlo Stanton, Logan Morrison, Ed Lucas, Rob Scahill threw 34 pitches in the 7th. Walked 2, struck out 2. Zizek getting ready. Stanton, a 2-hopper to Tulowitzki. And an out here in the bottom of the 8th. Now Morrison.
It's one of those at-bats, you and I talked about it, Rich, it goes unnoticed because it really set the tone for that 4th inning. After the Stanton double, Lomo rolling over on a ball, hitting a ground ball to move Stanton over to 3rd.
Morrison looking for his first hit of the series, an 0 for 6.
Does that show up on sabermetrics?
I'm sure there is a stat somewhere.
They would rather have the guy walk.
It's easy. I'm sure it shows up somewhere. I mean, if quality starts are a stat,
yes.
Productive outs should be a stat.
I like that. The old PO. Take it to arbitration.
I don't think that'll show up as one of those. Rosario picks his way over the on-deck circle and makes the catch. Twitter poll, do you agree with limiting pitchers' innings? Hashtag arm limit yes is losing to hashtag arm limit no.
I think if you don't have an investment in it, you probably would vote no. The bottom line is, whether you're old school or new school, obviously old school, they didn't have all that. You didn't worry about it. But the way pitchers are nurtured and brought up and watched over in the minor leagues now, it's a whole different story.
What was the stat we saw the other day that 1/3 of all pitchers in the major leagues have had Tommy John surgery?
1/3.
And while some people may say, well, I mean, they're going to have Tommy John surgery one way or the other, you know, you want to avoid that because it doesn't always turn out to be a successful comeback.
I think the success rate has grown. It's much higher than it used to be for Tommy John. I think it's in the 80% area.
Still, you'd rather avoid that.
Yeah.
Because for two reasons.
You want to avoid the other 20%.
Right. You want to avoid the 20%, and you want that pitcher healthy for that season and productive for that season. That is strike 3 call. Lucas goes down. Scahill finds his groove and goes 1-2-3 in the 8th. 3-0 to the 9th we go. Jose Fernandez. A.J. Ramos held on in the 8th, and now Steve Cishek gets the 9th. 7 innings for Fernandez. Ramos, a perfect 9th inning. And here is Cishek. Miami trying to notch win number 49.
Cishek trying to pick up his save number 28 on the season. Well, it's been a nice run for Cishek after a rocky start to the season.
One of the issues, and Mike Redmond said it best, was in the first 2 months the Marlins were so bad that Cishek didn't have a consistent workload. And closers are creatures of habit. They like to work. They like to work often. They like their routine. And when that's disrupted, things can get out of whack. And for a while there, Cishek's mechanics and his effectiveness wobbled.
Quite clearly, we're out of whack.
That's right.
And he's got it back together.
That's why you have Chuck Hernandez around, and he certainly helped get him back in the groove. And that's a fastball at the letters for a strike to Corey Dickerson, getting the start in left field for the Rockies. 0 for 3 in the ball game.
The Marlins also trying to put together their 8th shutout of the year from their pitching staff.
Tulowitzki and Kadire next. And Cishek would like to avoid Helton. He's due up 4th in the inning. Cardinals putting some distance between themselves and the Braves. 5-1, bottom 7. Pirates are getting knocked around early in San Francisco. The first inning just ended, and it's 4-0 Giants. That's a Tim Lincecum start. Francisco Liriano giving up 4 runs in the first inning for the Pirates. That hasn't happened very often.
No, it hasn't.
This year. Reds 5-2 over Milwaukee. So both the Reds and the Cardinals are poised to make up a game in the Central. Down goes Dickerson. The good pitching was contagious tonight for Miami.
Just a perfect pitch by Cishek to bury that breaking ball down and in. Get the left-hander to swing over it.
And here's Tulowitzki. He's lined out, struck out twice. The 2 strikeouts of Tulowitzki, I think, really illustrated how good Fernandez was tonight. Both were looking. Tulowitzki is one of the best hitters in the game. One was a fastball, one was a breaking ball.
Yeah, I think he would tip his cap to the young rookie after this game.
Well, if the score holds, Fernandez will go to 2-0 against the Rockies this year, and he will have gone 7 innings in both starts.
Boy, it'll take him to 7-0.
Morrison has the catch.
7-0 in his 13 starts at home, to an ERA that started at home at 1.40, which will be lowered after 7 shutout innings tonight.
Marlins Live presented by Checkers. Frank Ford. This is a tag team effort on Legends of Wrestling Night. Look at Conine stride in, confident. Blazer, crisp dress shirt, tie. It's brought to you by Checkers. It's coming up. I believe Craig is out in the wrestling ring. Kadire has single, doubled, flied out. Oh, 0-2, and with 2 outs. Crowd would like to see Cishek finish it, and they'd love to see Jose get win number 10. Quite possibly could be his last home start. Lucas, ball game, and a much-needed win for Miami. Alvarez and Jose will now sweep the line. And Fernandez wins his 10th, 7 scoreless innings, drops his ERA to 2.30. He is one of the best pitchers in the game, and he's proven it every 5 days. The Marlins shut out the Rockies 3-0. The fish didn't hit the cover off the ball, just 4 hits, but it's enough when you've got Fernandez on the mound.